What is going on, everyone? If you guys missed today's coffee tasting, go ahead and hit the link down below. That is going to take you to today's coffee tasting where we tried the Colombia Finca Reserva, where we got notes of red, grape, mandarin, and dark chocolate. And we learned a little bit about how coffee can create a sustainable environment and then also a sustainable livelihood for the farmers. Super important. So with small lot coffee, what that means is we're getting a coffee that's distinct from a specific region of the world. And so with normal like core coffees and stuff like that that come from an entire region, we get a lot of farmers that send coffee to a centralized washing station. And so what that happens is the farmers end up selling their coffee to the washing station, and then the washing station ends up selling it to a company like Starbucks or another company that sources coffee. And so with the small lot coffee, we're kind of getting rid of that middleman, and we're allowing a lot of the farmers to create their own washing stations so that they can grow their own coffee, wash and process their own coffee, and then directly source it to a company like Starbucks. And so what that does is we're directly sourcing the coffee from the farmers, and so that the farmers can obtain a little bit more money and create a more sustainable livelihoods for themselves. And so that's important because with ethically sourcing and making sure that the farmers are getting a proper wage, we're creating a more sustainable livelihood for people in other parts of the world where their economy might not be as strong as ours. So learning these stories about how coffee can impact the farmers, and not just the farmers, but the environment that they live in, is super important. So if you guys want to learn a little bit about the Finca La Reserva from Colombia, I definitely encourage you guys to go back and watch the live stream if you missed it, because we learn about a lot about how farmers work alongside with nature to create a sustainable farm, and at the same time kind of leave out some of the processes because the birds and the bugs kind of take care of that for them. So with the birds help eat the bugs, and then they prune the leaves, and then also at the same time the bugs and the birds help spread the pollen. So with the nature working alongside the farmers, we're having a lot of the process being automatically done just because of the balance that nature is. With nature, the way it's evolved to have different wildlife play different roles in how nature grows, spreading seeds, cross-pollinating, pruning the plants, the dead leaves and stuff like that, making sure that things grow healthy. It's a natural occurrence of nature. And so what farmers are doing in the Finca La Reserva farm is utilizing that natural occurrence of nature, maintaining nature, to help them grow a better, flavorful cup of coffee without having to resort to pesticides and other things like that. So it's really cool how we're able to get a gourmet cup of coffee and learn how and what the farmers do to create that gourmet cup of coffee, and the different practices that they're learning to do to get rid of some of those things that might not be good for the environment that we have started practicing with our farming. And so this is important because with the agricultural science can start in one field and then bounce to other fields of agriculture. So you have different things that are being practiced amongst other things. And so one of my favorite stories is the Brazil Pereira estate, where we have Juan Paulo Pereira, who is a fourth generation farmer. And when he first started to getting into farming coffee, he actually traveled through Latin America and was exploring different wine vineyards to learn how wine farmers, grape farmers, grow their grapes and learn the different practices they do to grow better grapes. And then he took those practices and brought them into the coffee world so that he can kind of learn how he can make a more flavorful cup of coffee. And so that's like a prime example on how this agricultural technology and the things that we're learning in coffee doesn't necessarily have to stay within just the coffee world. We can apply these practices to other things and start to create a more sustainable future for not just the coffee world, but for other worlds. And so this is just a really strong inspiration to learning how we can create a sustainable environment and how we can learn to work alongside nature so that we don't have to pretty much kick it out the door, and we can live alongside side by side with nature and have it help us grow. So super cool. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about Finca La Reserva and how the farmers on Colombia are able to work alongside nature and create a sustainable livelihood for the farmers and the environment. I really do encourage you guys to check it out. If you guys have a preferred brew method that you guys like that I do not do on this channel, throw that brew method down in the chat. I'd love to learn about the way you guys brew your coffee, and I'd love to explore that brew method on this channel so I can explore different flavor notes that I've never explored before. So if you guys have a specific brew method that you guys would like to see me do on this channel, throw that down in the chat. I'd really love to explore and learn a little bit more about coffee in the areas that I have not learned. So super awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed today's coffee tasting. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do. And then this Tuesday we're going to be trying the Suke Kuto from Stumptown, and we're going to try that iced over sparkling water. With the Suke Kuto, we're getting lemon lime zest notes, and with those lemon lime zest notes, we're hoping that the sparkling water kind of brings out that lemon lime zest notes to kind of create like almost like a coffee Sprite, something that's a bright flavor but not too intense. Because with the Suke Kuto, we don't have those intense bitter notes that you get from a regular cup of coffee. And so with those missing bitter notes, as you pour it over ice, those lemon lime notes come a little bit brighter. And so I want to test to see if we can make those lemon lime notes even brighter with a little bit of sparkling water, and see if we can eliminate those bitter flavors altogether. Kind of create like a really nice, bright iced coffee that's kind of like says summertime on it. So exploring the different brew methods is very important, you guys. Just because each different brew method is going to give us different flavor profiles with the same blend of coffee. So if you have the same bag of coffee but you're brewing it different ways, we're going to bring out different flavor notes. So for those of you guys who don't know and you've never watched my live streams, with the pour over, we're going to get a lot more of those citrusy notes, a lot more of those bright floral citrusy notes that you get from a cup of coffee. With the Chemex, we're getting a more balanced cup of coffee, but it's going to be a mellow flavor, very clean cup of coffee because it's a triple paper filter. So we're filtering out more of those sediments and a lot more of those oils. So it's going to be a much cleaner cup of coffee, very balanced but smooth and mellow. With the French press, we're getting a lot more of those sediments and a lot more of those oils. It is going to be a very balanced cup of coffee, just like the Chemex, but those flavor notes going to be turned way up because we're getting a lot more of those sediments and oils. So it's going to be like the Chemex, but we're getting a lot more flavors, but we're getting the same flavor profile. Really good. For this week on the Colombia Finca Reserva, my favorite brew method is the French press, because the French press, we're getting a lot more of those subtle mandarin notes, a little bit less of those red grape notes, and then that dark chocolate mouthfeel really washes over a couple seconds after you take your sip. And that's pretty much what I look for when I drink my cup of coffee, is a good dark chocolate or milk chocolate mouthfeel that kind of washes away the rest of the flavors that we get. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about the cup of coffee that you drink, whether it's Starbucks coffee or if it's a Dunkin' Donuts coffee or if it's a hole-in-the-wall coffee shop that provides like Stumptown, Clutch, or Peerless coffee, I encourage you guys to watch a little bit more of my videos that I have here on this channel, because it's dedicated to learning about the coffee that we drink anywhere we go. So every coffee that you drink, no matter what company it's from, it has a story to tell, how it got there, where it came from, and what it does for the farmers. And so that's what this channel is dedicated to, is learning about the farmers, learning what the work that they do to create the flavors that they want you to taste, and then learning about how it impacts the environment. And every coffee has a story to tell, because every coffee comes from Ethiopia. So when you drink a Latin American coffee or an Indonesian coffee or any other coffee, even if it's still from Ethiopia, it has a story to tell on how it got there. It has a story to tell about it, farmers who grow the coffee, and the amount of work that goes into creating the flavors that they are producing for us. So learning about the stories of the farmers is important, because the amount of work that they put into creating these gourmet cups of coffee is substantial. It's a ridiculous amount of work that goes into these coffees, especially like a pea berry bag, where they have to go and handpick and look for all the small cherries. So with bags like that, you get hours and hours and hours just going into making a single bag of coffee, and then they have to sell it. And so a lot of these people, they don't get to even try the gourmet coffee that they get to crop or yield, because it's so valuable and so important to their economy that they have to make sure that they reserve it for export sales so that they can create a sustainable livelihood for their families. And it's not a case of like they're not allowed to drink their gourmet cup of coffee. It's more of like a personal choice of the farmers. It's kind of like if you were to produce something very valuable, instead of going out and selling it, you consume it yourself. Well, in the end of the day, instead of consuming it yourself, if you would have just gone out and sold it, you could have probably made 10 more of those gourmet items. And then after you made the 10 more of those items, keep one for yourself and sell 9 more. And so it's all about making sure that you're taking care of your economy first before you drink that gourmet cup of coffee. And that's what's going on with the farmers in Latin America and all other farmers, is before they drink their gourmet cups of coffee, before they get to try it, they make sure that they're making their money and making sure that they get what they need to be able to have a sustainable livelihood before they drink the coffee that they would normally export to the coffee sellers. So a lot of coffee growers do end up drinking the lower quality coffee, not because they have to, but because of personal choice, because they're looking to maximize the profit out of their farms. And I'm sure they get to at least taste the coffee before it's exported. So there's that, but they don't normally get to enjoy bags of their coffee, because it's more important to export the coffee and make that sustainable livelihood than having that cup of coffee. So really cool to learn these stories and how it impacts the environment and the farmers in the area. So that is it for today's coffee talk, you guys. If you guys missed today's live stream again, go ahead and hit the link down below. That is going to take you to today's coffee tasting. And then also check out my coffee tasting playlist. Tons and tons of coffees to check out. Learn different stories about the different coffees that are from around the world. Learn about how it affects the environment and the farmers. And then there's just so many different unique flavors that are offered around the world, that to just limit yourself to a single blend, it's best to explore the world, because you're going to taste flavors that you've never tasted before, and you might discover something that you really, really like that you thought you might not like. So exploring different coffees and exploring different brew methods is important to making sure that you can find that perfect cup of coffee that you really, really like. So thanks again, everyone, for joining me in today's coffee tasting, and thanks again for joining on today's coffee talk. Join me this Tuesday as we do another coffee tasting of the Suke Kuto, and I hope your coffee was just as delicious as mine. Have a great day, you guys.